Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first show of, I don't know what I'm going to call this podcast. Probably just going to be my name. But today's guest, we have Levi. Levi was one of my students in Sell the Earth, and he is now a land flipper. He partners with Francis. So we're going to hear a little bit about his story and land flipping. So welcome on, Levi, first guest.
Yeah, Hunter, thanks for having me, dude. And I guess a little bit of backstory of how we found you and how we got started. Um, so I'm friends with someone named Frankie, um, and his partner Andrew, and I guess they had found you at like a random real estate meetup, and they were like your first real ever students before your program was really ever out, and so. Frankie had told me they just did their first deal. They kind of explained to me the very basic framework. And I was like, that sounds very interesting. It sounds very profitable. It sounds like something that I wanted to do. And I asked, when you were coming out with your full program, and they didn't really know. But I kind of kept tabs on you. And like 6 months later, you came out with your program. And so Francis and we gave it a try. We got it. Um, at the time, we were like plumbers. We were working. Um, we were the only ones in our department, so we were kind of flipping off being on call like 3 or 4 times a week. We were working like super weird hours. Um, and yeah, so it was kind of tough, getting the ball rolling, but the business model, it's pretty low maintenance. And so we were able to get it done, just kind of in our off time. And then like on weekends, we could cold call and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, we ended up doing really well, and then we ended up our company was pretty much like going out of business, and so we ended up just like quitting and then just trying it full time after we got our first deal, and then it was kind of just we did really well from there after going in full time. That's just a
Yes,
little bit
that
about us.
cool. That was like 2 years ago. When did you start? I forget.
Yeah, so
Two.
it's just over 2 years ago. I think I just got my recent regrid like yearly billing like last month. So it would have
Okay.
been
Okay.
2 years and a month at this point.
Nice. Okay. So as a teaser, over 2 years, how many deals have you guys worked on so far in that time period? Yeah.
Uh Shoot. So it took us about 6 months to actually go full cycle on our first deal. And since that point, I think we've done about 40. And
Nice.
so I think a lot of them, we did about 30 last year. I would say this year we've probably done about 10, and these ones are a little bit more higher ticket. And so we're kind of
Yep.
chasing the more medium to higher ticket kind of deals at this point in our business.
Cool. Yeah, we can dive into kind of the specifics of that later. But
Hmm.
when you were getting started, what was some of the hesitations you had? Was because you've never probably heard of like flipping land before, or I don't think you really had any real estate experience either. So why did you want to do it? And what were some of the things that you were hesitant on?
Um, to be honest with you, I don't think I was really super hesitant, because I kind of saw that proof of concept with Frankie.
Hmm.
And like, I'm the kind of guy, a saying that I really like is if it's too good to be true, like look into it more.
Hmm.
And so that's just kind of how I operate. So I wasn't really super hesitant. And I'm sorry, what was your other question?
Um, why did you want to do it? What was the
Oh, okay.
motivation for it? Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed like a really really strong framework, and kind of like you said, like I haven't really heard of land flipping. Like I don't really think a lot of people have, so it didn't seem super saturated. Like
Hmm.
you can look at all the other business models like SMMA, which is like social media marketing. It's all like super saturated, like drop shipping, house wholesaling. It's all super saturated. So the first time I heard that, I was like, I don't really think anyone knows what this is. So it
Yeah.
just gave me another reason to kind of look into it more.
Yeah. That's one thing I've noticed for people that are successful with land flipping is they don't really have much hesitation. And it's nice once they get that proof of concept. So because you already knew Frankie, I think that really helped because you had that proof of concept from somebody you knew. For people that don't know somebody, they kind of have to go through the process themselves. But then after they get a deal, that's where I usually see them grow a lot quicker because then they don't have any hesitation. It's the ones that do hesitate a little bit that usually have a harder time with it. So it's probably, I think it was probably pretty helpful for you to have somebody that you knew in it that helped you guys grow.
Yeah, totally. And it's not just like some random person on the internet too. It's like a friend.
Hmm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
Frankie's doing it. I feel like I could do it too.
Yeah. So you got into it 2 years or about 2 years ago. It took 6 months to get started. So you've been doing it a little bit over a year and a half, pretty consistently now. Um, and you mentioned starting off, we were doing a little bit more volume, and then now you're switching over to doing more higher ticket. Are you doing double closes with those, or what's the method that you're following? Double closing,
Yeah, so I would
or
say, at this point in time, double closes actually probably make up about 75% of our business. And there's a couple reasons for that. So, um, the first reason is that I feel like in today's space, it's getting harder to get funding. It seems like, especially for those, more medium, higher ticket deals, funders are a lot stricter, especially because like I feel like Dispo's slowing down a little bit. So funders really want to protect their capital, and so you hear a lot on maybe YouTube like you get a buy for 20, sell for 40. I feel like sometimes it's still even hard to get funding on deals like that, right? Which seem like a
hmm
no brainer, and so on top of that, right, you have your JV splits, and so let's say you do have a buy for 20, sell for 40. And let's say it takes a couple months to sell, you might only get 60% of that profit, right? And then after all your closing costs, you might have a net profit of like maybe 15 or maybe 15,000. And then
hmm
only getting 60% of that, that's what, like 8K. And so
yeah,
as opposed to like a double close, you just get all of it. Right. So those are kind of the two reasons. Well, no, I would say there's one more reason. But those are two of the big ones. And then the last reason is just, it's not very risky, and you can just, I feel like you're leaving money on the table if you're not really, using double closes because, you know, even if you have a deal where, maybe it's a buy for 100,000, sell for like 130, there's no way a traditional flip like that would work. But if you just double close it and you're able to find a buyer, right? I mean, that could be like a 20K spread that you
yeah,
just never would have had if you didn't know how to pitch it or if you just didn't have it, in your tool belt. So
for
there's a
sure.
couple reasons why we're doing double closes. And so, yeah, it makes up about probably 75-80% of our business right now.
Nice. Yeah. And when you do your double closes, do you usually put earnest money down with those, or do you just do no earnest money?
Yeah. So, well, it really depends. Like, so we try to put down earnest money on each deal we do just to make our contracts a little bit more enforceable. Um,
Hmm.
but sometimes, Francis is our closer. Sometimes he'll lock up some deals that maybe don't really make sense. So we just don't even want to put down earnest money at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime where we're like, yeah, this is going to be a good deal, we definitely put in earnest money in there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's smart. Yeah. The deals that don't make sense as much, it
Yeah.
might be a little more difficult. You don't put any down. How many of those do you end up closing then? Do you know like what's your close rate on double closes?
Um, I wouldn't have a really good accurate number for you just because so for our double closes, um, typically we're getting 150 days. And so a lot of our double closes,
That's long. That's how
yeah,
long you
yeah,
get. Oh wow.
usually we're able to get like, usually we do 120 business days because that equates
Okay.
to actually a little bit over 150 days, or we'll just say
Yeah.
150 days. So we're kind of transitioning to 120 business days.
Okay.
Um, but so yeah, a lot of them haven't really even expired yet because we kind of just started transitioning to the model um, beginning of like February of this year.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't have an
Okay.
exact number for you, but we're starting
That
to
makes
see a lot
sense.
of them, come to fruition.
How do you get people to go that long? Because usually mine are 60 to 90. I do business days, but I usually do 60 to 90 on it.
Um, well, I think working with Ajay, I think Francis just got really good with just framing
Hmm.
the double close and pitching it. And so I think, yeah, I think it's all about how you frame it. And then sometimes we get pushback, but if someone's really not in a rush to sell and you can like dig deep into that fact that they're not in a rush to sell, usually you can kind of get that amount.
Yeah, that's cool. And it gives you plenty of time because if it doesn't sell in that amount of time, you're probably priced way too high, anyways. So
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's definitely safe. That's cool. Um, cool. So with those double closes, you said they're going for bigger profits now. What's the biggest deal you guys have done so far?
The biggest deal that we've done, we probably made like net profit was probably like 36,000, something in that
Nice.
ballpark.
Yeah.
And so like that's like net profit, not
Hmm.
gross profit. So that's a pretty solid deal. We
Yeah.
have one in the pipeline. This will be our biggest ever so far. It's going to be right now it's under contract at 50,000. And we're going to exit at probably 130 is my guess.
Nice.
So that'll
Yeah.
be our biggest in terms of gross profit once we see that one
Nice.
kind of go full cycle.
Yeah. That's a whole salary on one deal,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is nice.
So that yeah, we're super excited for that one.
Yeah. Is there something special about that one? Is it like a water property or
Um, no, it's
it's just
just it's a really big farm track in just like kind of a random city in Ohio, and it just has access to like all the utilities, and it's cleared. Um, it's in the city, so it's kind of a rare parcel
Mhm.
in itself. And then just the fact that it has access to all utilities and it's like in the city, so you don't have to drive super far. It just makes it really nice having all those qualities.
Yeah, that's cool. So how are you finding your deals currently? Because there's a lot of different ways that you can acquire deals, right? There's mail, you can do cold calling, direct mail, texting, uh, other stuff. But what are you guys doing right now to find your leads?
So right now, we are only doing really SMS texting. We're starting cold calling up in about a week. So we'll kind of have that channel on the side to supplement our texting because we just have so much data. We want someone to be calling that as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, so we're sending out pretty much 75,000 texts a month. And so that equates to about 17,500 texts a week. So that's pretty much all we've been doing for the past couple months, up until, right now when we're going to start adding in cold callers.
Okay, cool. Out of those many texts, you got to get a lot of replies back. Who do you have handling that?
So we have a full-time texter out of Pakistan. He does a phenomenal job. And we pretty much just have a set of what's called like macros, which is just like a dedicated um, typed out response that you can put in Smarter Contact, our texting platform, where you can just kind of click on it and then it'll just like auto like type it for you, and then you just click send. And
Hmm.
so we have like a certain qualifying process where he pretty much just can click macros and then maybe add a little bit of nuance when it's applicable. But so yeah, it's pretty easy to do, and then he just goes through. He shifts or what's the word? He just sorts through all of the texts to kind of see who would be a good fit to push to the CRM.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you have a full-time texter. Let's talk a little bit about how you structure everything. So you have who creates your lit, like starting from the beginning, you have to, figure out who you want to text, who you want to do outreach first. Whose job is that? Who hands it off to the texter? Who hands it off to who? Let's walk through that.
Okay, cool. And so like even after it gets pushed to the CRM, like the full kind of thing.
Yeah, so like you start off how do you determine where you want to target? Like who creates your list for you? Start
So
start there.
I do pretty much all the market research. Now, this is something that
Okay.
I'm handing off to another person on the team. I could dive into that a little bit later, but so I use the land portal market research kind of tab, and so I just look for counties that have a good sell through rate or a good days on market that I like, and I just make sure that there's enough. I guess, comps, like if you go on Zillow or Redfin, to make
Hmm.
sure, like, if we're reaching out to this county, we get a lead that gets pushed to CRM. You know, Francis, he does a lot of the comping. He can actually, determine what a property is going to be valued at. Um,
Hmm.
so it's really as simple as that. And
Yep.
then once I find one that makes sense, I kind of add it to our calendar, and then I'll go and I'll pull that list, and then our texter can take the list, upload it, and then text it.
Yep.
So that's kind of how the texting works, or the market research rather. And we need a ton of different data to text as much as we do. And so we're doing a lot of market research every week. Um, and then from that point, our texter, he goes and he kind of just sorts through the leads. He pushes them to the CRM. Once a lead is in the CRM, we use what's called Stride, to like go high
Hmm.
level. Um, we have a lead manager. So a lead manager is essentially like the first point of contact for whenever a lead gets pushed to the CRM. They kind of qualify a lead deeper than how our texter does, because our qualification isn't super strict. We probably get 7 or 8 leads a day pushed to our CRM. Our lead manager will talk to them, and if they seem qualified, they're going to push it to our closer, who's Francis. Um, and then Francis pretty much that's all he really does. We just want to keep him on the phone as much as possible because he's really good on the phone. So
Yep.
if he closes a deal, um, it gets pushed to our transaction coordinator. And me, I kind of handle pretty much everything in the back end. And then our transaction coordinator will kind of get it to, if it's a cash deal, get it to title right away and make sure we close on it very quickly. Make sure our due diligence gets done. And if it's a double close, just make sure we can try to get it on the market as quick as possible. And then just kind of follow up with realtors at that point.
Cool. That's a good process. Do you have anybody on the dispo side then, or is that
So
you
that's
for the
going to
most
be
part?
mainly, yeah, the transaction coordinator and I. Um,
Okay.
she's still in training, so she's been on the team for almost a month now. But there's just so much that goes into land. There's so much nuance. I'm really involved still in every transaction, and I probably will be
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah, that's I mean, I'm still pretty involved. I've really tried to get myself out of it as much as I can. Because about a month ago, I changed the process because the bottleneck that I had set up was I was the closer on all the deals. Because in my opinion, it's still kind of the most important part of it because that's where you're getting your profit, right? Getting it
Yeah.
locked up at the lowest price. But the people on my team I've had for a few years now, so they've all gotten pretty good and trained in. So I'm trying to hand it off so I don't have to do the closing anymore. And then you're still involved, right? Because you still have documents to sign and handling everything, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to push it off as much as I can. So that's with the with the list building, you're still doing that at the beginning, like market research. You said that's something you're trying to hand off to somebody soon.
Yeah, so like our transaction coordinator is also kind of like an executive assistant. So like any like just like tasks that we don't really want to do, we just kind of like delegate it if she like
Nice.
knows how to do something.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I'm teaching her because we do a lot of volume at this point. And especially like it takes time doing like due diligence and stuff like that, finding realtors. Like she'll be on the phone all day just trying to contact realtors because they don't answer their phone, right? But
Yeah.
like maybe a week goes by, we don't get a contract signed, so she has a lot of time to like do market research,
Hmm.
or she will like once she's fully ramped up in it. And so that's something that we're trying to delegate to her to kind of handle.
That's cool. What what do you see will make your or I was gonna say with your processes right now, do you have it detailed out someplace like a SOP document or what do you think will get you guys to be the most efficient?
Um, yeah, so I would say we have like some SOP documents. So like for example, we kind of have like our texter, he kind of has like a schedule that he's supposed to follow. And then we kind of have like our qualification process kind of written down. And then like for our transaction coordinator, She kind of has like a schedule, like she's supposed to do certain things on certain days. On top of like her normal duties or whatever comes up for the day, right? Um, and then like our lead manager, since she handles a lot of the follow-ups, we use Ajay's kind of like follow-up framework, which is very like in depth. So we definitely have to have an SOP for that. So yeah, I
Hmm.
would say we have a lot of SOPs. That way, if anyone uh, just kind of gets lost, they can kind of refer back to that and see kind of what they need to be doing on a day-to-day basis.
That's good. That's one of the things I also struggle with is managing my team.
Mhm.
Because if when you have a lot of these employees, a lot of remote employees, they need direction of where they're supposed to be going. So having those SOPs has been really helpful for me, but it's still finding time to manage people is a task on its own. And as you scale
Yeah.
up and you have a lot more people, I'm sure you're probably seeing that too.
Yeah, and for us, it's really lucky because Francis and I we trust each other, and so like Francis can handle all of the acquisitions, and I don't really need to worry about it at all, and I can just kind of handle everything on the back end, and he doesn't really need to worry about it at all. And so sometimes like I can only imagine what it's like in your position, kind of just being like that sole operator at the top, because yeah, it gets hard, just with the both of us sometimes. So yeah, I can kind of understand where you're coming from, where it's really tough. But for us, it's a little bit easier. Like um, he manages our lead manager because she's a big part of like acquisitions, and then I handle like usually our texter, like the transaction coordinator, because well, texters acquisitions too, but I can find time to manage him as well.
Okay. Yeah. What so being in it again for 2 years now, what do you think has been the hardest part of land and what's some of the easy things that
S- So the hardest part is just there's a couple really hard parts. Like one of it being like you don't really know what you don't know. There's a lot of nuance in land that you really will only learn through trial and error. And then sometimes um like getting let down is a big one too. Like I'm sure you've felt this before, but I mean there's a million times where we had like an amazing deal on the table and then like something like silly happens. Like for example, I had a deal, it would have been a buy for 70 and a very conservative sell for 170. Contract
nice?
signed, earnest money deposited. We have strong contracts, so like people aren't backing
Hmm.
out of our deals nowadays. But they had a what's called like a right of refusal, and so she had to offer it to her siblings first. That was like kind of in the
Okay.
will, and so unfortunately, a sibling went and scooped it up. So like things like that. You just get let
Hmm.
down sometimes, but you got to remember, that's part of the game. Good deals are going to come, and so you just got to keep on going. So I would say those are two of the hardest things. And then you just got to get the experience to kind of learn those things that you don't know. Um, so yeah, kind of those two things are
Yeah.
probably the hardest part of the industry.
Yeah. Some of those things you don't know. Have you made any mistakes where like you bought a bad property or have you lost money on a deal?
No, so we've actually never
Okay.
lost money on a deal, um, except for like maybe like an earnest money deposit, or uh, like one time, this was actually pretty recent. I don't know if you'd really count this as like losing money really, because it's like a couple $100, but like one time I
Hmm.
got, so a seller, he had like a desert parcel, and those desert parcels are tricky because like they don't really have like utilities a lot of the time. They're kind of just weird. And
Yeah.
so this specific seller, he kind of like lied to us. He said there was electricity and water. And so we spent money on like a flat fee listing for like a double close, because we had
Hmm.
an attorney, in fact, to be able to actually market this thing. And
Yep.
so we spent like $150 there. Then we spent like $200 on like drone pictures. And then come to find out, there's no electric poles there. And then there's like no water either. So it's like,
Yeah.
so we kind of just lost money there.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll lose like a little bit of money and it's not really your fault, but I've
Hmm.
never lost like a significant amount of money.
Yeah,
So
I'd barely count that. It's not like
yeah,
you didn't buy the property, so that's
yeah.
a very small risk. Um, have you had other people lie about properties that you've purchased before,
Um,
or is that
no, not really about like properties that we've actually purchased. I don't think.
okay?
I can't. Not one comes to mind really
Yeah.
quickly
Do you still so you said like 70-80% of the deals you double close? The ones that you
at this
actually
point.
buy, um, do you go out to the properties first, or do you buy stuff sight unseen?
We haven't done that in a long time.
Uh-huh.
So back when we were doing a lot of the lower ticket deals, acquisitions was like so easy. So we'd get like, maybe 6 properties under contract a month. Especially towards like our, like I guess prime, like when we really know when we really knew what we were doing, like kind of at the end of last year. And so we would go and a lot of it was in the same market. So we could go there and actually visit them all in person. But now we're kind of doing business all over the country. It would genuinely be impossible to do that. So a lot
Yeah.
of the times we're getting realtors to walk the properties for us, and it's worth their time because it's, higher valuations. Or we're just like getting drone pictures, or like sometimes you could see it on Google Maps and it's just like a cleared parcel, so it's good to go. So
Yep.
we haven't done that in a really long time.
Okay. Yeah. I don't usually check them out either. But what I will do is I'll get the listing photos first. So if I'm going to purchase something sight unseen, you can, like you said, you can see Google Maps, you can see all the train maps and everything,
Hmm.
and then I'll just send out somebody to get pictures of it beforehand.
Yeah.
Um, that there was one that just happened like last month where the photographer and everything went out to get pictures of it, and I was about to close on it, and then um a homeless person moved onto the property and started living on it. Um, so I had to delay the closing because I didn't want to buy it and have to try to get them removed. Um, so there's sometimes it's last minute you might have something come up, but generally you don't have that happen.
Yeah,
Um,
we had a super similar one where so we actually visited this property and we found that there was an old kind of RV, what is it, like RV cover, and then an
mhm,
RV under it. And so it was
okay.
super old, and I guess someone was squatting in there, and the neighbors told
Mm,
us when we
yep.
kind of put down our for sale
Yeah.
sign.
The
And so
neighbor
that
had
made
told
us,
me too.
yeah, so that made us super nervous. But I think they ended up not like going back after we kind of put our sign down. Maybe they got scared. So we ended up
Yeah.
not having an issue selling that one. But yeah, like sometimes you do run into like some weird stuff on the property.
Yeah. You can sometimes attract weird people with some of
Yeah.
these rural properties. I went. I was in the South looking. I think it was Tennessee. Um, and I was like in a trailer park area, and I was out looking at one of the properties, and there's just across the road some people sitting in their trailer. Like the door was like half falling off, and they're just sitting in the rocking chair, just watching me, like
Yeah,
looking at the
it's
property. I was like, it's
yeah, it's a little
a little
nerve-wracking
weird
sometimes.
sometimes. Yeah. Do you ever have issues with selling because of neighbors? Where somebody goes and looks
Um,
at a property and a neighbor is kind of harassing the buyer?
s- Sometimes, but I've never had that being like a deal killer. Like I've never not sold a property because of a neighbor.
Hmm.
But like sometimes they'll be like, I like asking for feedback for everyone that visits, just so I kind of like know what to expect. And I do get sometimes like, oh, like I didn't really like the neighbors or like the neighborhood, but it's never stopped me from getting to the finish line.
Okay, that's good. I've had a few times where there was one of the first properties I bought. The neighbor, like they had their house on it, so like they lived there. Every time somebody came out to look at the property, they would go and tell them everything about the area and why they shouldn't buy it, and that turned off a few people. But in the end, like you still sell it because it's more the land. Before we get back to the episode, I want to tell you about a software that I built called DirectREI. Most real estate investors are still manually following up with leads, or they're paying for virtual assistants to send texts and emails all day long. With DirectREI, AI can handle a large portion of that work for you. Upload a list of leads, and the AI can automatically send personalized emails and text messages, respond to common questions, follow up with prospects, and help move conversations forward while you focus on finding and closing deals. Of course, DirectREI also includes the tools that you'd expect, like a CRM, skip tracing, direct mail, calling and lead management, and workflow automation. But the real goal is simple: help real estate investors spend less time on repetitive outreach and more time talking to motivated sellers. It's the same software my team uses in our own land business. If you'd like to see it for yourself, head over to directrei.com. There's a free version available so you can create an account and start testing it today. Now let's get back to the show. So, Levi, what sort of AI are you using in your business right now?
So in terms of AI, it's funny that you asked that question because we're looking to implement a ton of different things. So like, for example, I've been seeing some crazy stuff, dude. So I would like to have AI do a lot of my texting. And so like, for example, not to replace my texter by any means, because the dude's awesome, but to kind of have AI just do like the bulk of the work and just have my texture maybe review it, maybe continue to train the AI, and then that way he can focus on other tasks, like maybe doing more in-depth scrubbing on our lists. I think that's something that no one really does because it takes a lot of time. But if you're doing more in-depth scrubbing, it can those leads that maybe aren't popping up on normal lists, that's gold right there because no one else is going to be reaching out to those people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so AI texting is a big one. I would like to have the AI be able to do this kind of the same thing with like market research. That way, eventually, like when my executive assistant um, knows what she's doing, she can kind of continue to train that model and just like review it. We would like to have AI be able to also do um, maybe not cold calling because that goes against like the TCPA rules, but we would like to eventually have a system where we could have a cold call, do a warm transfer to an AI because that's compliant, and then almost act as a lead manager. So that
Mm-hmm.
way, our lead manager, when we start getting too many leads pushed into the CRM, isn't overwhelmed on her end. That way, we kind of almost have like a second lead manager that can kind of have that initial cold call conversation plus ask like all those lead manager questions. So that way, when it goes to our closer, they can just one call close. So those are like three examples that are kind of in the works, along with like just simple like organization stuff, um, like connecting Claude to like our email so they can organize each transaction. Each transaction has its like own like I guess brain in like our AI system. So I don't know, it's changing so much every day. There's like a million ideas. It's just kind of sitting down and actually learning how to implement them into our business.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of different options out there, and it's changed a lot in the last 8 months. I'd say even like a year ago, completely different from what AI can do now, which is pretty crazy. Um, so yeah, it'll be cool to see in like a couple of years from now how much more automation we can involve and how much more we don't have to do. Um, but yeah, it's some of the things that I've been using it for. Maybe you could take some of these ideas is with the sales. So on the selling side, using AI for a lot of different things like getting properties listed. Like we have a bot that will do that. It will reply to people. It will put all the contracts together. So a lot of the smaller tasks, I suppose, just like renewing Facebook posts, doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've built a lot of things like that, so we don't have to do it anymore. So, what have you used? You said you use Claude, right?
Yeah, we're starting to
Or
use Claude. I I've been hearing that it's a lot better. So we kind of switched over.
yeah,
But
yeah. I prefer Claude, but everybody has their preference.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it'll be cool to see. Um, how do you think it's going to impact the overall land industry? Do you think it's going to make it more competitive or? No change or
I think, yeah, it's kind of hard to say because I mean, at this point in time, it's very difficult to, in my opinion, learn and kind of implement. And a lot of people in our space are older, like maybe, um, 30 or 40 years plus. So I feel like for them, it might be a little bit more difficult for them to kind of grab onto that idea and start learning and implementing it. Um, so I want to say in some ways it's going to be less competitive because the people that do actually learn to do it are going to vastly, in my opinion, kind of um, catch up. But I think it allows maybe younger people that maybe are a little bit more savvy to kind of come in and then kill it in the space because one of the biggest bottlenecks in the industry is not having maybe capital. So you can't like really have employees. So that's why a lot of younger people aren't in the space. But if you can kind of replace that work with I feel like a young person with not a lot of capital could be very efficient just with having AI. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of you can make the argument for both. It's
yeah,
really hard to say.
that's true. Yeah, some of the people that utilize it are going to have definitely advantages, but you don't think a lot of people are going to be able to
Yeah,
or
but
know how to.
you never know because with the way it's advancing, I feel like it's only going to get easier to implement. So
Hmm.
that's kind of the thing too. So I feel like in the long run, it might make it more competitive just because people have more access to kind of more resources that can help in efficiency.
Yeah,
But I think, I don't know. I feel like the operators that are getting like more creative are always going to be winning. I don't think AI is going to change that.
yeah. Speaking of creative, then, what do you see is going to be like the next trend with land? Because it's changed over time. Like before, you could just go and like years ago, you could just go and flip anything, and then you had to progress to doing specific type of marketing, and then now you have to implement different strategies and double closing everything. What do you think is going to be the next trend with land?
So yeah, kind of like you said, like double closes. I think that's really caught on. I think a lot of people are implementing double closes nowadays. The next one, like 100% that I see happening is like seller financing, similar to like kind of what we do, but in a little bit more of an advanced way. Not as much with like a lot of the lower ticket deals like that me and you do, um, but with like higher ticket like subdivides, and I'm already seeing it. Like for example, you have a parcel that's $250,000. You go and you offer that seller. They don't want to do a double close, and the cash flip just doesn't make sense. So what you do is you offer just whatever you can negotiate, maybe 10-20% down. Let's say you get 10% down to make the math easy, right? So it's a $250,000 parcel. Put 10% down, 25,000, right? And then let's just say you have a monthly payment of like 1,500 a month for like X months, right? We'll, we'll,
Hmm.
we'll say it's 80 acres, but then you have the like a clause in there that you can like kind of assign this contract, and then you can go and you could take that big parcel, subdivide it. What did we say? 80 acres. So you subdivide it to 8 10-acre tracts. Then you finance each individual lot. So let's say, I don't know the price breaker off the top of my head, but let's say the price breaker is double with the smaller tracts that you just subdivided, right? And then you go and you get, maybe 10,000 down a track. So now you have 8 tracks, you have
Hmm.
80K that you just got down once you dispo all of them, right? Compared to the 25,000 you put down when you bought it. I know it's a little bit confusing to someone who maybe isn't super familiar with land, but and then you just net like a ton of extra money just on your monthly payments while you're still paying the seller. So I think
Yeah.
I think that's going to be what's going to happen, because I think sellers might be starting to get fatigued with double closes maybe in the next year or so, and
Hmm.
so you kind of gotta just again get creative, and seller financing is what I see happening next, and you can do that with like not even with subdivides, but just with normal flips, right? Say you have a seller that the cash deal doesn't make sense, right? Your margin's too thin, they don't want to do a double close for whatever the reason is, but maybe they're willing to do seller financing, And so, yeah, and you don't even have to just collect the monthly payments and like kind of make a spread off of that. Like you can really just get a property like that, put it on the MLS, sell it, and then just kind of early payoff, and then just
Yeah.
collect the spread if you have a cash buyer. So it opens up a
Yeah.
lot of avenues too. You get more buyers because you can offer financing as well on the dispo side. Um, but if you have a cash buyer, you can also just pay off, the person that you owe and then just kind of collect the difference there. It's a huge game changer.
Yeah. I think you're right. One of the students in my group, David, I don't know if you met him or not, but he like subdivides, and I've seen a lot more people doing subdivision now. Even
Yeah.
not just people that I've seen, but just on market. I've seen a lot of subdivides, but he just got 40 acres. He cut that up into 6 properties. So they're 5 to 8 acres each, something like that. Um, and so he bought the 40 for 90 grand, and we're listing those for about 240 in total. It's going to be the total sale price.
Wow.
So he bought that one through a deal funder, but I think like you said, you can just buy it out of seller financing, which is, I do know some people do that. So they buy it on seller financing,
Hmm.
and then you sell off a portion and pay back the owner as you sell off portions of it. So that is a really good strategy. Um, and it's a lot easier than most people think. Uh,
Yeah, it sounds super complicated, like the way I was just explaining it, and I feel like no one really is doing it. So I feel like
mhm.
people are going to start catching on.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's only so many cheap, large parcels that are going to be attractive. So I feel like that one's going to get saturated a lot quicker than just regular flipping. But because there are requirements to do it like that. But then, like you said, you just have to be a little bit more creative. And then you can go and find other properties that maybe aren't simple 40 acres that you cut up into 10 acres. You might find, like a 12-acre parcel that's kind of weird, but then you go and survey it out and cut that up. So like there's always something you have to be creative with. Um,
Yeah, and I agree. I also think that like saturation exists, but at the same time, like, me and you, for example, we have different personalities. Like we might close different people just based on our
mhm.
personalities and like the relationship we can build with the seller. Maybe we like, different things. So it just kind of depends on like who's closing, your seller. There's a lot of different factors as well. And then of course, like how you frame things is important. Um, so I think there's a ton of different factors as well.
For sure. Yeah. Do you ever see yourself doing any other type of real estate, like maybe developing some of your properties, moving mobile
Yeah,
homes onto them?
yeah. I think probably after seller financing, I think the next thing is going to be mobile home development. So it's funny
Yeah.
that you brought that up because I'm starting to see like some serious level operators do like mobile home developments. Um, I don't know if like building like new construction homes is ever going to be a big thing. But I definitely see mobile homes coming in the future.
Yeah. That, again, it's one of those, it's easier than it sounds to do thing,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
which I think makes it a lot simpler for people to get into. Um, cool. Yeah. So what do you think going forward is your guys' plan with your business? Like, what's your goal for this year? How many more do you have, like a deal goal, or do you have more of a monetary goal? And
Yeah, so we have a monetary goal, which of about 600,000, and that's like kind of gross. So we're hoping to get like maybe 300,000 net. I think we're definitely going to end up doing that, just because with how the cash conversion cycle kind of works, transitioning to a more medium to higher ticket model, it takes a couple months to get the machine running. But like where we're at now, we kind of have deals in each stage of the cycle. And so, we have some bigger ones that are currently on market. I have that really nice one that we're going to close on in like a week or so. So I think we're definitely going to achieve that. It's not so much deals because, I mean, you can make that much money in like one deal. It'd be very
yeah.
difficult, but it's possible.
Hmm.
So, or like two deals. So I think monetary is probably kind of our goal for this year.
Cool. And then, do you have any big plans with the business, or it's just getting everybody trained in and dialed in kind of this year?
Um, Big plans for the business. Yeah, just kind of getting everyone trained. Um, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we have any big plans. Like, at the point where we're at, I feel like hiring like new people isn't really like considered a big plan. So I don't know. I haven't really thought about that too much.
Yeah. And then how about let's go forward, 5 years from now. Do you still want to do land, or do you have goals
Yeah.
outside of land? Do you want to do other businesses, or what do you want to do?
Um, Yeah, I don't know. It's so tricky. I think I do want to maybe get into like other forms of real estate, but kind of like kind of like you said at the beginning, like I didn't really have any real estate experience when I joined. So like a lot of the simple like house terms, like I don't even know what they mean. Like I only
Yeah.
know about land. And so like maybe I'll go into different avenues. But I think in 5 years it's very realistic that I might only be working 5 to 8 hours in land itself. Cause I think it's a business where, um, you can be pretty hands off once you kind of have a team. And it's easy to keep your costs low because it's all like remote work, at the same time. So yeah, I think in the next 5 years, I'll probably have a pretty good machine running, and then I could focus on maybe, other things, like coaching or, stuff like that.
Yeah. It's funny. Like you're doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in land, but like you said, you don't know as much about other types of real estate. Like you're in real
Yeah,
estate, but you don't know
genuinely, I don't.
terminology, which is, I mean, me too. There's uh, a lot of niches within real estate, and even within land, you can get very narrowed down and be a professional at one thing and still not
Yeah.
know other things with real estate. So, um, but it also shows like how experienced you are in the one category. So.
Yeah, and I just like to stay in my lane, like I don't need to learn about the house stuff, so I'll just leave it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. What advice do you have for people that want to get started in real estate or specifically land?
So one thing that I say a ton, I guess this is maybe like a little bit of a hot take, but like what you see on YouTube, it's not what like Hunter teaches. It's, doing those like life-changing deals like the buy for 30, sell for 60, buy for 50, sell for 100. But like if you guys are maybe new to like land flipping, just to be like blunt, like you guys are gonna get killed if you are trying to do those deals. Like I don't want to sound cocky either, but like I have like employees, and there are people doing way better than I'm doing, that are spending like $30,000 a month on marketing and their team, etc. That have very dialed in SOPs, very trained salesmen. Like you are not going to compete like doing these higher ticket deals. I think the best way to start, and I might be biased because this is how I started, but it's just doing low ticket deals where you're not going to have competition, building up, seller financing portfolio. In like our first year, after we did our first deal, like a year from that point, we got up to like $12,000 a month just recurring revenue, like no matter what, as long as the people pay. And it's like we're able to use that money now to just kind of run our machine, and that was able to teach us like the terminology, how to actually buy land, how to sell land. It was able to teach us everything, so that way we were already a little bit seasoned when we kind of started making our transition to doing these bigger and better deals, right? And so my biggest advice is to start small and kind of learn before you pour money, because I know people personally that have spent like $25,000 in mail campaigns and didn't get a single deal just because they were
Jeez.
chasing these bigger deals and they didn't really know what they were doing,
Yeah,
right? And so that's kind of my biggest advice, is to kind of start small, learn, build up a seller financing portfolio of just like low ticket deals, like $300 a month, $250 a month, $400 a month. Get to 10K per month, and then scale from that point and do those bigger and better deals, because you'll have a much better success rate compared
yeah,
to a new investor that just kind of got sold the dream on YouTube.
it's
It's
good
kind of my biggest
advice.
advice.
It's I agree with you. I don't know if that's because that's what I did or
Yeah,
we
same
both did
thing.
it, but it's I'd say that's good. That's good advice. You can start small and scale up. Don't go for the huge ones right away. I mean, I know some people that do go for the huge ones, and occasionally works out, but like you said, a lot of them they don't work out, and then they get dismotivated or unmotivated, and then they never follow through with it. So
Yeah,
it's definitely
exactly.
good advice to do something that's reasonable and then scale up from there. So that's good. Um, cool. So I think it's almost been an hour. This was
Mhm.
the first podcast, so we can uh this is good practice. And then next time we can maybe do an in-person one, and we'll be a little bit more I'll have a little bit more of a schedule that we can follow. But Levi,
Yeah, cool.
where can we find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at mmc-land. I also have a YouTube channel as well if you're interested in checking out my YouTube. Yeah, same thing, just mmc-land. If you want to learn a little bit more about what we do, we talk about like the lower ticket stuff. We talk about more medium to higher ticket deals, frameworks, stuff like that. So feel free.
Yeah, his all his stuff will be in the description, so go check it out. I know he posts a lot of stuff, so good tool for getting started in land. But thanks for watching, everybody. Go check out directrei.com, and I'll see you next episode.